Hey guys, Chad here from CNR Reviews. We're going to be doing another pistol comparison today, and we have the Bersa Bp9CC. This is a polymer framed 9mm subcompact, and today we're going to be comparing it against the Kimber Ultra Carry II, which is actually a 45 ACP subcompact. And why we're actually doing this comparison is that the Kimber's been out for a long time, and maybe you own one. Maybe you're looking to go to something that's a little bit lighter. There's been so many 9mm subcompacts coming out in 2012 and in 2011 that the category has really just exploded. And there's a lot of really great options. And the Bersa is going to be considerably lighter than the Kimber. So you may already own this and you're looking for something different, or maybe you're brand new to the concealed carry market and you just are curious on how well they compare. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to go over the features, we're going to go over the size, and we're going to be just doing a basic size comparison. We're not going to throw any numbers at you. We're just going to show you on video how well they compare, and we're going to finish up with weight and pricing of the guns. Let's go and start with features of the Bersa. This is a polymer frame gun, like I said. This is Bersa's first polymer offering in the US, and they nailed it as far as the polymer goes. It's very nice, very high quality. The grip is got to be one of the nicest grips I've felt on any of the polymer pistols. Has a Picatinny rail in the front if you wanted to run a tack light or laser. Comes with two 8-round magazines, and for the price point, it's awesome. We'll get to the price at the end, but let's just say thank you, Bersa, for that. It's got some basic features that a lot of the subcompact category is actually going to. One was a loaded chamber indicator. It's on top, very similar to like the Ruger LC9. It's got really unique sights, not because they're 3-dot combat sights, but because the rear sight is replaceable with a Glock factory rear sight, and the front sight is replaceable with a SIG front sight. So that'll give you some options if you want to do night sights. Other than that, it's pretty basic. It doesn't really have a manual safety, and it is designed to be very simplistic in design. So you pull the weapon with the round chambered, and you pull the trigger, boom. You don't have to mess around with the manual safety. Some people like that, some people don't. This one, like I said, just offers just the trigger. So, and we'll talk about the trigger here in a second. But it does have ambidextrous mag release, and that is about all for ambidextrous stuff it's got. Takedown pin is the slide lock and slide release. Just to be noted, you go ahead and you line up the two lines, one on the frame, one on the slide, and you push it out, and the gun comes apart. So let's talk about that trigger. I wouldn't consider it even a safety trigger or anything like that, and I would say be very careful if you decide that you want to carry this in your pocket. I would more recommend that you're going to carry this gun in a holster. We'll go ahead and show you the trigger. You have just a little bit of a pivot here. If you push at the top of the trigger, it doesn't really move, but the moment you pivot your finger, this is just kind of nothing there. It breaks. And I've got to say the trigger's got to be 4.5 pounds to 5 pounds. It's the lightest trigger that I've felt on any of the subcompacts. In some ways it's going to be good because while you're practicing, you're going to be able to stay on target a little bit easier. You're going to not drift left or right or up or down when you are firing. And so that's going to improve as far as target accuracy goes. But because the trigger is so light, it is something to be careful of. And you want to make sure you keep your finger off the trigger unless you intend to shoot. So that was the demonstration of the trigger. It does have a couple other safety features, such as a trigger lock. It also has a magazine disconnect, where if the magazine is out, you cannot engage the trigger, even if it is cocked and locked. So it's got some kind of neat features on it. They're pretty basic. To me, this is keeping up with just the rest of the category. So let's talk about the Kimber. Now, this is a subcompact 1911. It's not exactly a true 1911 because it is missing some parts, such as like a barrel bushing in the front, the spring assembly or the guide rod and stuff is a little bit different. It's a dual recoil spring instead of being just the long standard guide rod and long spring. So you do disassemble a little bit different, but in its heart, it's a 1911. You have the beaver tail safety, grip safety. You have the thumb safety on it. It's a very, very nice gun, guys. They're not cheap, let me just tell you right now. This one's wearing a set of Meprolite 3-dot combat sights. So unlike the Bersa, this one has the manual safety, so if the weapon is cocked and locked, you would carry it like that. with a round chambered and the thumb safety up. To engage or to actually fire the weapon, you have to have a proper grip on the gun to be able to push the beaver tail safety in, drop the thumb safety, and be able to pull the trigger. Let me show you the trigger pull on this guy. So we'll show you without the beaver tail pressed, you can't engage the trigger. The moment you press that, there you go. It's a very light trigger, I would say 4.5 to 5 pounds, and it's awesome. It definitely competes well with a lot of the other subcompact 45s out there. I really like the Kimber. It's very accurate. And other than that, as far as features go, it's got the same takedown, as in you just push the slide lock / slide release out to start disassembling the weapon. It doesn't have any ambidextrous features, like the magazine disconnect, but that's okay. And it also has a loaded chamber indicator here at the top as well, where you should be able to see the butt end of the casing. Other than that, this one is wearing a set of VZ slimline grips. So when it comes to weight, it's going to be pretty close. This isn't a custom Kimber or anything like that. It just, I think it's, aside from the night sights, Ryan has installed just the VZ grips, and that's about all on this gun. As far as capacity goes, this one is wearing a 7-round, this is a Wilson Combat magazine. You'll see it doesn't quite fit flush because it has a little bump guard here on the bottom, but that's how Ryan carries it. So that's how we are going to measure it. Other than that, great gun. We really like it. Let's go ahead and do a size comparison. Actually, we'll toss this back in there. And the first size comparison we'll do is length. I'm actually going to line up the end of the beaver tail up against the butt end of the Bersa, and we're going to see how well these guys compare. And there we go. So with them lined up, you have the Bersa being a little bit shorter. And part of that is because that beaver tail just hangs off the rear. If we were to line it up, frame to slide to slide, you'd be more like that, and the Bersa would actually just be a tad bit longer. So there you go. As far as width goes, the Bersa is going to be a little bit thicker in the thickness of the slide itself, but when you get to the thumb safety on the Kimber, it's going to add thickness to the weapon. So in the end, the Kimber's still going to be thicker because of that thumb safety. As far as height goes, as you guys can see here, height, the Kimber wins out just a little bit, but part of that's because of that bump pad. If you remove that bump pad, they're almost identical. And remember, you have a 7+1 capacity in the Kimber and 8+1 capacity in the Bersa. When you consider that one's carrying 9mm, one's carrying 45, I think that's actually pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and let's look at the grip width. Now this is going to change depending on what grips you put on the 1911, but the 1911 grip is going to be thicker. For people with smaller hands, you're going to want to change out your grips on the 1911 because it can get really bulky. And with the Kimber, you have a very slim line grip. So let's go ahead and do some weight comparisons. And how we like to weigh our guns is we want to weigh them as if they were loaded. You don't carry a carry gun unloaded. So we're not going to give you that weight. Let's start with the Bersa. Here's the gun and the mag. We have 8+1 capacity for a total of 9 rounds. And you're looking at a loaded weight. On this one, it keeps going back and forth between 24.8 and 24.9. I'm going to call it 24.9. And I'm using 124 grain full metal jackets on here. The weight's going to vary depending on what you use in your weapon. If you use 115 grain, it's going to change. If you use 147 grain, it's going to change. Maybe you're using the new Critical Duty 134 grain or something like that. It's not going to change. So it all depends on the grainage of your bullet. That's going to make it lighter or heavier. Let's check the Kimber. And I believe that the ones that Ryan carries right now are 185 grain. This is the Hornady Z-Max, I believe, or Zombie rounds. So you have a capacity of 7+1 for a total of 8. I think he just bought these because he liked the green tip. Alright, so we have a loaded weight of 31.5 ounces, guys. That's about 6.5 ounces heavier, a little more than 6.5 ounces heavier. Now that to me is going to be a big difference when you consider carrying this weapon. Especially when you compare it to like the Bersa. The Bersa being that 6.5 ounce difference, it's not going to weigh your pants down as much, not going to pull them down. It's not going to protrude out, or because of the extra weight actually push off the side of your body either as much. So with the Kimber, and Ryan's carried this gun, this is his usual carry gun, this and the XDS, and you can conceal this gun. It's not impossible. Just make sure you have a good hip holster for it. But if you're looking for something that's lighter, the Bersa would then be a good choice for you. That 6.5 ounce difference is going to be night and day when you have them loaded up and going, wow, yeah, that's huge. So, like I said, it's just going to help conceal the Bersa a little bit better because of it being lighter. So, to each their own, though. There are some people that carry a heavier gun every single day, and they are just fine with it. So, guys, let's talk about price. And this is a big issue when it comes to both these guns. You have the Bersa being on kind of the cheaper end of the 9mm subcompacts, and you have the Kimber being on the more expensive end of any of the subcompact categories. The Bersa I paid around $370 for. You're going to see prices range from $360 to $400. Don't go over $400 for the gun, and good luck finding one. We had a really hard time finding it. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of other great guns that came out during the same time, and so I think the Bersa's been overshadowed. You're not seeing it as much inside the stores. I still see the Bersa Thunder 380s way more than I've ever seen this. I've only seen one of these, and this is it. And this sat inside the gun cabinet for about 3 months at Sportco before I ended up picking it up. So hopefully these don't get overshadowed and people start to pay them a little bit more attention, because I really think it's a very high quality, well-made pistol. It's on par with everything Bersa does. Bersa just makes good quality guns. And if there's an issue, they have a great warranty. They also, you can buy replacement parts if you wanted to customize your weapon. They have a great website, it's Bersa.com, and you can go, you can order all kinds of replacement parts for pretty inexpensive. Now with the Kimber is going to range anywhere between around $700 all the way up to well over $1,000. It's all going to depend on which version you're getting. Kimber's got special versions like the Raptor and whatnot, and I've seen them go all the way up to $1,200. This one in particular started off at around $700, and we have customized it just a little bit by putting the VZ grips on there. We did install Meprolite night sights. Those don't come standard on the Kimbers because of just standard silhouette sights, and those sights do perfectly fine. Ryan wanted something for nighttime, and those sights run around $100, give or take $20. So if you're looking to customize, that easily pushes this gun up into the $900 range or more. You go with stainless, you're going to pay even more. I mean, there's just a ton of variation. So as far as cost goes, you could buy 2 or 3 of the Bersas for the cost of one of the Kimbers. So that's something to think about, guys. The Kimber is an all-metal gun, though, and it is very high quality. But I think that the Bersa, even though it's a polymer gun, is also very high quality, well made. So if you guys have any questions regarding either one of these, the Bersa Bp9CC or the Kimber Ultra Carry II, feel free to ask. This is Chad from CNR Reviews, and thanks a lot for watching, guys. Have a great day.